Mm.
Hello, welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and Memnir strategists to that 6+++ show. I'm your host, Tom. I'm all dolled up in my pink 6++ gear. I'm ready to talk 40k with you tonight. I'm joined by my very favourite people from the team 6++ to talk all things Warhammer, and today it's balance, it's Dataslates, it's what we'd change, it's all that good stuff. So hopefully you, the chat, will have plenty to offer us as we go forwards into that juicy topic as well. Do shout us out, let us know what you've been up to, and we'd love to hear from you. I'm going to introduce our cast of players. We're going to talk about an eventful week, and then we're going to dive straight into the main topic, I think. So I'm going to start where I typically like to start, though today I slightly fear to start. My dear leader, Chris. Chris, has anything interesting happened to you this week?
Well, I mean, it's been quite an interesting 24 hours for us, hasn't it, Thomas?
It has. It has. You don't call me very often, Chris. So I knew it wasn't going to be good.
What's going on? Yeah. I spent last week in Scotland, having a grand old time. 6 hours into my 10-hour drive back, and my phone rings, and it's Chris from Hemel Hempstead, who we've been working with for our event coming up. I'm like, why is he ringing? He's like, hey, Chris, how are you, mate? And I'm like, yeah, good, how are you? He's like, yeah, good, look, I'm really... And then his phone cuts out. And I was like, I looked at Chantal and I was like, that sounded like he was about to say, I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, And then it comes back and he's like, yeah, no, I'm really sorry, but part of, I've just been rung by the school that we're using, part of the roof has collapsed. And I mean, I've been playing competitive 40k for tournaments for 7 years or so. Never once have I heard of a roof collapsing, especially in a new building.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, so there's currently a hole. And I'm like, well, can we still play with a hole? It's like, no, because they're fixing it, but then they've got to get a government person out to fix it. So basically, you can't use that venue. So I'm
to be fair, based on my experience of UKTC events, I would have thought a hole in the ceiling of the school hall wouldn't actually prevent you from playing.
Yeah, quite good aircon, right? So I was like, right, okay. So I rang Scrivo and Tom and was like, this is the situation. I'm driving for the next 4 hours. I don't suppose you could start trying to find potentially a different venue. So those guys, you two have worked very hard. And today Tom's been doing the rounds with the phone calls.
The degree of irony that Scrivo spent ages finding a lot of places. I spent ages ringing. And then basically Tom Redgate in our team messaged us with a lead that's actually worked pretty much straightforwardly.
Every one of our leads has failed.
But Tom is such a hero, right? He's always good at getting stuff done when you need it. So hopefully this is going to be sorted, and then we can just carry on.
Provisionally, we're still on, just waiting. Tomorrow, hopefully, is the day we can fully confirm everything. Yeah. And we get to go into a venue that we have no idea about, and hopefully
flying blind. Yeah, going to be great.
Easy, mate.
And have you done anything 40k wise, Chris?
I put a little bit more paint on some Sanguinary Guard, just because I felt like it.
Lovely.
And I have been building some Grey Knight lists. So I've got obviously a really boring default 3 Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knight list for Warpaint, but I'm trying out some other things. Ed is very much all aboard the Alpha Strike train at the moment of Storm Raven, Purifiers, Interceptors. Like, you can, if you go second on Search and Destroy UKTC, you can pretty much get your entire army in your opponent's deployment zone turn 1 with the list, which is quite good fun. Ed's secret spice at the moment is Librarians on their own, because for 80 points it's D6 plus 3, blast, strength 8 minus 2 damage.
Yeah, no bad thing.
4 rerolls to hit. That's a thing. That's pretty good for 80 points. Grandmasters, when they go big boy time with 8 attacks and you can get mortal wounds on top, it can kind of put out 7-8 mortals on top of the damage. So there's some spice there. And I'm also playing around with some Silver Tide lists as well. So
is it fair to say, I think the initial reaction was a touch lukewarm to the book, so is it a case of we're just starting to figure things out and now we're feeling a bit better about it?
The initial feeling was, it's just a bit of a shame, because it still feels just like the same army, just with ever so slightly upgraded data sheets. I think it will be a book that in time, as people get used to, all the fun stuff is kind of spread across all the detachments, so it's trying to work out which one's the best. Obviously, people immediately went for Banishers because it had, in theory, quite a cool detachment, but it's also got Mr. Deimos and some good strats. the reality is that Warpbane is probably still the best detachment, just because it turns out full rerolls to hit is quite a powerful.
It's a nice thing to have when you can get it.
detachment.
Yeah.
So yeah, time will tell. But I mean, Harley went 4-1 at the weekend with them,
He did.
and he took a couple of bit odd choices. He's going to RGT with a Storm Raven. He's taking that on board, so should be fun. Should be interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah. Thanks, Harley, for messaging me individually all day to ask about the status of our venue. By the way, that's super welcome and useful, and obviously, I'll be sure to
not at all stressful.
Be sure to let you know personally when we have it sorted out, because I am just holding it from you until you ask for the third or fourth time. Yeah, no, that's very exciting. As you can hear him chuckling away, I'm also joined by my Warhammer sensei, the lovely Scrivo. Scrivo, how are you?
Yeah, really good. Apart from the last 24 hours, I've actually had quite a nice week.
Good, good.
I've played some Warhammer.
So you were one of the came back from WTC's keen to play, weren't you? I saw you getting stuck in. So talk us through that. What have you been up to?
So I decided rather than kind of keeping on the hot wolf summer that I've been having, I thought I'm going to go and actually do the thing that I actually own and need to paint. So I've been looking at my World Eaters. So straight away on Thursday night last week, I played Andy from Team Wales and got a good rep in. It was a horrendous matchup because I went into Chaos Cult, which was a lovely experience to kind of understand how I should play and how not to play.
Pretty bonkers list that, right? The first time you play against it.
Yeah. So I've played against it, but with Space Marines. But when you're only hitting them, it's just like my limited amount of shooting can't be used. This is really rubbish.
Yeah.
But it was a great lesson, and then I played a pickup game in person as well against New Votan.
Oh, amazing.
That was good fun, especially when my opponent got the rules incredibly wrong. So, yeah, I'll probably have a rematch on that.
Were you impressed with New Votan, or?
Yeah, it felt a little more complicated and a bit more enjoyable to play against, rather than going, I'm just gonna these 4 units, I'm just gonna get +1 to wound against. It just always feels a little bit miserable sometimes.
Yeah,
it gave them a thing, but I'm not quite sure what their points things do right at the moment, because I'm not quite sure what those things are for at the moment. There wasn't. I think that's something that we'll see people explore a little bit more.
I think yield points. I'll do a video on this. My assessment is that yield points has been very well thought about for need guard, but then I think some of the detachments feel like they've sort of tacked yield points in a little bit semi-interestedly, and then a couple they are very genuinely interesting. But yeah, it's just going to take some figuring out and some playing. I think Votan in general, that's definitely my feeling about it. Is I need to just put dwarves on table and see what it does.
Do it.
I feel like they're one of the armies that have probably changed the most from index to codex and need the most working out of the book.
100%. It may well be that almost the entire chassis of units you're used to using doesn't do it right.
All the new ones, maybe.
And it might be all the new ones, right? Yeah, maybe it's 6. Maybe I need 6 Capricus or something like that. Who knows? Again, you can hear him chiming in with wisdoms as he's wont to do. But I'm also joined tonight by the lovely Jack Chapman. Jack, other than wisdomous, how are you tonight?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just chugging along and too fucking hot again.
It is. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, you are.
But you've been inside painting a tank, is my understanding.
Here he is.
Look at him, little Rogel.
Coming along.
The Regal Rogel.
Best boy.
Yeah, been working on him, working on editing, learning how to use various bits of software for content we got coming up.
The joys of editing. Yeah, nice.
When it's not too hot for my computer to run, because that's quite an intensive process. I played a game yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Played against Imperial Knights, one of my in a league game, a local league.
Mm-hmm.
I got to experiment taking fixed against Imperial Knights.
Nice. How was that?
Experiment. Yeah, it was good. I feel like that's one of those things where it's probably not something you want to do in teams, but probably a good idea in singles.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, it has a massive effect on how they play if the Knights player is worth their salt. But I think it's interesting. I like it in some missions more than others, I think, but I still think it's a lot of the time it is worth doing.
Yeah.
It's especially in a world of challenger cards, being able to just go down and get challenger cards and then start scoring loads of secondaries is pretty sexy. So very nice. All right, well, we're going to shout out some people in the chat, so do let us know, chat, what you're up to, and then we will natter through the self-promotional aspects. and then we'll go into our topics. So who have we got? Valentin Pushkarov says tomorrow. Who knows what that's about? Jerry's painting progress says good evening. Zero says good evening. Hello, Zero. Big old Jim was asking about. So this is for our event this weekend coming, Jim. That's why the roof falling in is particularly relevant. Irksome, bothersome. We're practically irate.
Mildly miffed.
You know what? Actually, I think we've dealt with it as a group very relaxedly and effectively. It's not been particularly fun, but I think moods have stayed relatively calm, so that's good. As have our community. Everyone has been wonderful in the event chat and in the wider chat with just letting us crack on with sorting the problem before losing their minds, so that's good. Gordy's in. Connor Nichols is well done, Connor, on your good run at the weekend. Mark Croco is in. Nice to have you here. Also, Marco Croco, I like that a lot. Nice Dark Angel symbol too. Aaron Wilson, lovely Aaron, is in. Azuma says that it's 39 degrees C in Dallas today. That is a different planet to what we're used to.
But aircon, yeah. East conditioning has not yet reached the entire UK. Until he does, we're suffering through. I think you should really sponsor everyone in the team to get aircon. Big old Jim's painting Sword Bros. So yeah, that's another book people are getting more excited about. Yes. Black Templars. Now I don't know anything about it, so that's exciting. I look forward to finding out what the deal with that is. But cool that the Black Templars are on the rise.
The Polter Executioners, that's the thing.
Apparently, yeah. Have they got a character that gives it like 3 extra shots on its last cannon as well?
Cool rerolls if something's close by or something like that.
Oh, good. Brilliant.
Yeah, that would be great on UKTC boards, right?
Yeah. Pew pew. Oh. Aaron Wilson likes your hair, John. I think your hair looks very nice.
It's good. It's not a phase, Mum.
You're coming to join me in playing with the curl land, I see. Oh no, you've destroyed it. You've ruined it. It's gone.
What have you done, John?
It was looking so nice. You've sent it the other way now. Oh, I can't. Oh, that's a shame. That's okay. We should never have drawn attention to it.
Oh no, John.
Bruce Duffy's here. Hello, Bruce. So Bruce Duffy's worth a shout out because he's playing for Team Scotland. He had an incredible WTC playing on Chaos Cults. Really good at Allies of Convenience before that. And Bruce, when I went up to Scotland, I didn't have 2 working legs, and Bruce had never met me before, but basically drove me all around Scotland, helping me out as I was playing on the team within it. So Bruce is an absolute fucking saint, and I couldn't be happier that he had such a good WTC. Chaos Cults was such a monstrous list in his hands. Marco is painting Magnus. More talk about aircon in the US, which is cool. That's a whole episode waiting to happen. Connor Nichols says lose oath, gain more rerolls. Cool, good. Less rerolls.
Less rerolls in this game, remember, guys?
Yeah, 100%. John D wants to know where the Drakari Codex is. I'd like to know where it is as well. I'd like to know. Because it's the last one, right? Pretty much.
So
and I think
6 weeks before the end of the edition, that's when it is.
I've got an entire team's worth of Archons to thoroughly disappoint when I take that book, having done nothing to earn it, and then play every team's event for 3 months.
That's thematic, right? That's the Kimura
what would Vec do? Absolutely. Yeah,
that coin is currently flipping through the air. You don't know if it's going to land on completely rework the entire book and it's completely different and it's actually interesting to play, or it's the same thing again. None of the data sheets have changed. They just released the codex.
with less data sheets.
It's an interesting one because I can see how it could be a disaster, right? If you go super strict on like a witch cult one, a coven one, and then those don't actually function. But I have to be hopeful. I have to believe that it's going to be good. And yeah, we've got a lot of love for Black Templars in the chat. Machine says people keep mentioning Death Guard and IK, but what about Ascension Host for GSC being broken? We will absolutely 100% get into that, Machine. I don't personally think Host is broken, but I absolutely think it needs a balance run. And then Swissley says, howdy. Hello, Swissley, we love you. So, self-promotion standpoint, there's not a ton to report. We've just got back from WTC. We're all just coming off the back of summer. We've got lots of exciting plans. We've got lots in the works. We'll be making some more videos for you soon going forwards, but a couple of videos have gone out. Ed is basically telling everyone how to kill people with Eldar, so get on that. He's done a wonderful video about his ITT experience with Aspect Host, and then I think he's got another one coming about his WTC run again, Aspect Host, where a lot of murdering was done, and Ed had a wonderful time. So look forward to those. We've got a few bits coming out as well in the near future. Besides that, do keep on supporting us. Please do hit like and subscribe. Please do leave a comment. We love you very much when you do those things. It's great. Shout out to the guy today who said, I've not watched the video, but is this? And then was just wrong. I love that energy. I love just go in with that guy's confidence and just start It's actually great for us algorithmically if you just pitch in whether you've watched the video or not. I'm absolutely here for that. Channel that energy. And if you do want to sign up and support us as a YouTube member, that'd be amazing. On our way up into the 100 pluses, we'd like to get a few more this year. And if you're interested in getting some 40k coaching, obviously a whole bunch of us working away on that. Myself, Chris, Ed, Jack, we've got all sorts doing coaching in the Discord. Big coaching Discord now. We're looking to run a masterclass ahead of LGT to prep people for that. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, come to the Discord, get involved in the masterclass, sign up there. Wonderful. So that's the spiel. 15 minutes. Not too bad. Not our best, not our worst. Balancing the game. It's been a meta. Having been repeatedly putting my face into the meta for 3 months without any choice to go anywhere else because WTC was going to happen, I can say the meta has been a bit loopy and weird and at times unpleasant for the last few months. I think that's been a common feeling I've heard from people talking across the community. I don't think it's the worst we've ever had, but it's definitely one where I think some changes would be welcome. And hopefully as we approach September, some balance shifts are likely because we'll be hitting that 3-month window. So what I've done is I've rallied my band of nerds here to start telling me the sorts of things they'd like to see. But you, the chat, can help us here as well. Please, by all means, do tell us what you'd like us to discuss, what armies you'd like us to cover. We'll get knee-deep in the analysis for you there. And I'm going to invite my cast of players here to throw some ideas as well. I'm going to start with Chris. Chris, are there any armies in the game that you think are too good and you'd like to see adjusted?
Well, should I come at this from a slightly different place, seeing as I've only taken part in one event. So during this whole meta of fun that everyone has been kicking off on, we've got a situation where 25% of the meta is Death Guard and 2 Knight factions. Death Guard themselves are so strong that 10% of them, of every army at an event, are Death Guard.
Yeah.
So my one experience of this was in fact using this unbelievably broken army and failing miserably with it. So if that doesn't qualify me to talk about this, then I don't know.
You are the man, I think.
I can tell you for free, guys, that Death Guard are absolutely fine. There's no issue here. No, look, at the end of the day, you've got a situation here where 1 in 4 of your games are against a particular set of armies. We always know that knights, if they're too good, they heavily skew the meta, don't they?
Yeah.
You want them as that gatekeeper. You want them as that. Look, you're not going to win a GT unless you beat them, but they're not going to win the GTs themselves, and it feels like they probably haven't quite managed that.
Not based on recent results, no.
Right. And they obviously, because of their skew, just inherent in their army, therefore they inevitably skew the meta in a very heavy way. And in quite a few periods this edition, we've had this really nice situation where it's very much a game of like rock, paper, scissors, like, oh, what shall I take? Like, there's so many different armies out there that could beat my army that I could beat. And it's quite fun to like try and work out and that sort of thing. Whereas now we're just in a situation where if you can't beat knights, like you don't go to an event expecting to have a chance of winning if you can't beat knights. And obviously Death Guard are just a very shooty and killy army that have too much stuff to be shooting at you with.
Yes.
As I can tell. So yeah, obviously those are the big 3 that I think it'd be interesting to see whether we think rules need changing. Is it the rules that are the issue, or is it points that can it? I mean, I know some people like to say that points can fix everything, but like, do we feel just a few points adjustments actually balance will be brought to the force, or do we actually need some rule changes? I don't know, because I've never played against knights in this meta.
For that one, I'm gonna pass it to Jack first, because I think Jack often has a good brain for these things. Let's start with our trio of big bads here, and think about the initial instinct on this, Jack. What are your feelings on Death Guard and the 2 Knight flavors right this second?
Death Guard, I think, is super interesting, right? Because I think a lot of people are, or a lot of sort of focus, a lot of like spotlight is on Mortarian's Hammer, right? Even though it's not actually the most played detachment, I think that's what a lot of people are talking about. But I do think that's more of a teams list, which is rather than a singles list, which because it has the obvious weakness of everything getting tagged and you're just kind of a bit screwed. Yeah.
But the other Death Guard detachments have less of that issue.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this actually. Like, it's kind of a tangent, but maybe we would have been better off putting Chris on one of those armies for ITT.
I fully agree. Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, the thing about Death Guard, I think, is they are undercosted for sure, but I don't think they are just undercosted. I think they have got a massive case of rules creep for sure. Some factions in the game get this, and others don't. This is what we talk about when we talk about like haves and have-nots on the rules department. I think. I like the biggest offender for me is the 6-inch deep strike and charge. There is absolutely no reason to have that in Death Guard. Absolutely none. There is no reason to have it. It's not like it's fine for some armies, right? Demons, I get it. Grey Knights, I can get it for like one detachment to have it because it's like kind of their faction identity. The whole deep strike thing, the uppy downy, that's their faction identity. For them to have that in a very limited capacity, I think is fine. It just doesn't belong in Death Guard. It doesn't work thematically. It doesn't make sense for the unit. It is just pure like rules creep to me. And then I think you can see it across all the data sheets as well. Like, I mean, people, you'll hear Tyranid players say it all the time. The Plague Drone is a exocrine for half the points. They had impressive, above average, probably the best way to say it, above average defensive stats across the board in their index, and yet that was also like bumped up as well. And then also their damage got bumped up, and then also they've got this like a bunch of awesome utility. A lot of they have rerolls coming out of their ears, like all these with all these detachments and stuff. It's one of those things where they're playing chess and a lot of other armies are playing checkers. And I think it comes to the point where it's so systematic. It's because it's just so prolific throughout the entire codex. I don't even know where you'd start, right?
I agree.
You could nerf 2 or 3 data sheets in that book every month until the edition ends, and it'd probably still be good. So I think while I do like rules changes, I think if you start doing that for this codex specifically, exactly the same for Eldar, because my personal opinion is Eldar is the same way, but I know a lot of other people won't agree with me in that.
No, I would actually say, for me, in my headcanon, the Sisters, Eldar, and Death Guard books all tick this box in their original incarnation.
Yeah, and I feel like you can't start making rules changes on them because there's too many things to change. So I think you kind of have to end up picking the most problematic thing, and then they end up getting points nerfed to the point of either just not being really usable. I think maybe the best outcome for Death Guard at this point is maybe just rules changes for stuff like the 16 deep strike and charge. Just take it away. Crossing my fingers. It's not going to happen, but crossing my fingers that it will. And then some heavy points nerfs. People were talking like 200 points. I think more than that is appropriate. Like
I suspect they'll get a first run of something in that region, right?
Yeah, I think maybe not after this initial data slate, but maybe after the data slate from there. Like 2 data slates, and then if that takes away like 300 points of that army, it's probably fine, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think after the first nerf, that might be enough to just cause all the people that have faction hops onto it to kind of leave it, because a lot of people are playing it. It's going to become an Index Eldar situation where people are just going to get bored of it, because they're just going to be playing it so much, especially if it survives 2 data slates and it becomes like a 9-month period of Death Guard. Then no one's going to want to. People are just going to get bored of it and stop playing it before it probably gets nerfed, I imagine.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I mean, I think it is an incredibly strong book. It's interesting. So I remember when we reviewed it on this show, right? And we were literally pretty much unanimous in our assessment that it did not have weaknesses and it had far too much going on. And I think some people at the time were quite reactive to that suggestion and didn't think that was how it would play out. And it is exactly how it's played out. I think it's one of those books where one of the issues Death Guard always have is that they do have a fundamental weakness, and this book has kind of shored that up really in getting Contagion in places more easily and getting Death Shroud in places more easily. Craig Bedford in chat says 200 and they're still good. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't want Death Guard to be bad here. That's not my goal in approaching this at all. I think I have no issue with Death Guard being a present force in the game, and I really enjoy it. I think, as Jack says, we're already seeing a lot of move to Virulent and Champs of Contagion, which are both, to be honest, more interesting to play against than Hammer anyway, so I don't hate that. And I think you probably need, points rises first. Potentially, I could see Mortarian's Hammer copying nerfs purely because it's unpopular. But as you've said, Jack, it is more of a teams list than a singles list in the main. But I think you have to anticipate, in my experience, Death Guards don't love the 2 Knight flavors or can have issues with the 2 Knight flavors. So actually, whatever you do, Death Guard has to factor in if you're also taking Knights on. That might also give Death Guard more of an up again.
I think the most damning thing for Death Guard for me, and I'm sure a lot of people have had this playing into Death Guard, particularly Mortarian's Hammer. If you rush it and you kill like 5 units, you still like lose your.
Oh, you lose. Yeah, you lose. Yeah.
Because they still have enough stuff left over to just table you.
But having practiced that for months, rushing it and getting tabled is how you get 7 or 8 points. There are armies that can just absolutely go through it, and you're never going to go through it if you don't rush it. But yeah, exactly.
I played 4 of them.
I think you were a little bit less practiced at getting out of the rush, weren't you? Because you hadn't played the army.
I guess because against most other like marine equivalent armies, if you kill 5 units also of the opponent's army,
should be pretty good.
That's like back broken. Like, okay, we're going to be like winning this game. Probably you're on track. But against Death Guard, that's just nowhere near enough. You have to be killing like 8 or 9 units or more.
Yeah, for sure.
To really break them.
Scrivo, have you got any thoughts there?
Like, to me, points is all well and good, but at the same time, points and rules changes at the same time I find still are very dangerous. We've seen this multiple times.
Like the double triple nerf.
They just put it in the ground, and that book didn't need help with being kind of a bit lacking anything else. I think, to me, like when Jack was talking about the 6-inch deep strike, that very much feels like a thing that just kind of hits home when they're already beating with the other stuff. So it's almost like that's almost a distraction, kind of focusing on that, because it's the core mechanics having things like having lethals and sustained just on tap. As an army, that feels the bit that probably hurts more. Just that the fact that I look at it and go, compare it to Space Marines Codex, the two things side by side, you go, how are these even the same edition of books? And it just, I think things like the 6-inch deep strike almost feels like something that almost put that to one side, worry about that later. There's bigger things to worry about, like how the army itself plays.
The power of the army
has
rule
too much stuff
is really something. I think obviously the additional contagions they got when they were down in the dumps, and still having those on top of all of these incredibly powerful data sheets is really quite a lot. I think it's an interesting one for Death Guard. I do think they have weaknesses. They have lost conditions. But I think it's going to be one where they definitely need a lot less stuff on the table.
I think in terms of rule changes, I think the only things that you would need to look at are the 6-inch deep strike and charge, and the -1 save contagion. I think if you can get those 2 things like under control, and then it's just point changes for the rest of it. I think you can probably pull it into a place where, you know, it's kind of appropriate. I would say, because at that point, like, thing is, even if you take away just take away the 6-inch deep strike and charge from the Death Shroud, that's still an incredible data sheet for 100 points. That is the best. That is the best combat unit in the game, hands down. Like, it is ridiculous. It's just,
and they got flamers.
It's just it's crazy good. So yeah, I mean that would be where I'd be looking at it. In terms of it's just,
I think they'll have they'll have a second life in the non-hammer detachments, continuing in some form or another, and then we'll see. But I'll be very interested to see if they go near the 6-inch deep strike or not. I think they will. That would be big if they did decide to target that. We've got questions in the chat from viewer 44. He asks when the Dataslate is due. We don't know. We're merely speculating here. And then, what if new Votann are broken? Death Guard 2.0, even if Death Guard are fixed. I think Votann will need some figuring out. I think there is power in the Votann, but I'm not looking at that thinking as we did when we looked at Death Guard, that I can't see what the discernible weaknesses are. The Votann weaknesses are pretty pronounced by comparison.
I said it to you a little while ago.
Yeah.
It gives big Tau energy in the sense of like how the army works, in that you end up with a small number of very powerful activations.
Yes.
That are particularly good at killing Marines.
Yeah.
But then it's also you have to jump through a lot of hoops to get it to work.
Yes.
And it is very vulnerable to your opponent. Like your opponent can mess with your game plan quite easily. Like there's some strong stuff in there.
There really is. Yeah.
It's one of those ones where the headlines look really good, and then when you read the fine print, it kind of makes it look less impressive afterwards.
Yeah, I think so. I'm excited to see what people do with Votann, but it's not jumping out at me as being quite in that territory. But it'll be interesting to see. I'm hearing in commentary around the content at the moment that there's a whole bunch of people who can't really decide where it sits power-wise. That people can't quite make up their minds, so I think it's going to be interesting to see. But there are not a bunch of people rushing to say it's going to dominate the game. If we take it onto the Imperial and Chaos Knights, starting with the Imperial Knights, I think obviously the main issue we have with Imperial Knights is just that their book is not here.
Yeah.
And I suspect probably some portion of the problems we're seeing is the points coupled with the old rules. That said, both flavours of Knights just seem a bit cheap on the Bigs, right? I wanted Bigs back in the game. We talked about it on the show many times. I was really keen to get Bigs back in the game, but I think probably when you pushed it to a place of like 5-6 Bigs for CK, 4 Bigs for IK, and again, it's the Atropos has slightly distorted things because the Atropos is a Forge World Knight that just is much, much better than some of the others. I think probably realistically, it's how do you bring the Bigs into line without pushing the entire Knights community back onto just Armager and War Dog spam, because that would suck. That would be a really boring place for things to end up. I don't personally feel like rules changes are needed. I don't think anything Infernal Lance is doing or Lords of Dread is doing is egregious. There was some interesting
mechanics. Don't they?
Yeah, they just have too many big Knights.
Fundamental issue from what I've heard. They just have like one or two too many things. But as you say, the hard part is that previously Knights have only been successful when it's been all the little ones.
Yeah.
So because that was the most efficient way for points, they've gone the other way. And now we've got the big stuff. We don't like that either. So, is there that possible middle ground? Like, what do we feel like if we were to play into Knights? Like, what would we say we would want to be playing into? Like, 3 bigs and how many smalls? Like, what was Jack? I can't remember what Jack Tight's list.
Jack's was, I think, 4 and 4, which is okay.
So maybe 3 bigs and 4 smalls.
Yeah, something like that.
Is that more of a manageable amount? I don't know.
I think it's an interesting one in that sense. I think CK is more flexible at the moment because they just have more rules to choose across, and they can have demons and they can have various things.
Yeah.
Potentially nudging the points around might also push them back a bit to having more of the allies and working the souping options in a bit, which gives it a bit more flavour.
The CK War Dogs are also a lot better data sheets than the Armagers in general.
The Armagers just aren't that great. I don't know, maybe that will change in the book, but it's one of those where it's certainly at the moment.
Canis came down a huge amount, didn't he?
Yes. Canis is popping up in just armies of all stripes.
Everyone's army, so
he's obviously very priced to move. But I don't have the feeling with Knights it's anything that can't be sorted. And there are armies out there that can deal with them. It's just that if you don't have the tools for Knights, you have a miserable time.
You don't want that to be the main feature of the meta.
No.
The funny thing about Imperial Knights, I find, is that I look at their Noble Lance detachment, and some of those strats are, like, some of them are just total duds, right? Thunderstomp, like, whatever. But some of them are, like, absolutely cracked. Like, straight up fight on death is awesome, particularly awesome on units that have a combat profile like Canis, or on an Atropos, right? They're really good. And then you have Shoulder the Burden. Shoulder the Burden is an insanely good stratagem. Like, holy hell. And I have never seen someone use it. And
I've never seen an IK player do anything other than rotate Iron Shield.
Rotate Iron Shield, it's really good as well.
Rotate, you die.
Imagine losing 1 wound to 1 mortal wound to like a grenade or or an explosion or something, and then suddenly getting +1 toughness, armor save, hit, and leadership, and OC.
It's pretty sexy.
Like it's such a. I mean, that gives you so many breakpoints, but I mean, people don't use it, so whatever. And then you also have the war dog one to give +1 AP to all of your shooting war dogs army wide as long as they shoot at a particular thing. That's a crazy strong stratagem as well. And yeah, but yeah, people just don't even use them, and they still seem to do really, really well. So I don't really think it's where I'm going with this is I don't really think it's necessarily the rules per se. I think it is the it is just you're correct. I think it's just too much stuff on the board. I think there is also the warping factor of the towering rule interacting with the WTC and GW boards very poorly.
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
I think the last version of the UKTC boards also had this.
Yeah.
The current ones have it much less. They do have it a little bit, but they're much they're a little bit better than the WC. Like some of the WC boards and GW boards, it's like I can see your entire home objective.
Oh yeah. So this was the nightmare scenario when we were practicing getting ready for nights at WTC. Was just like, if they go first and you haven't placed infiltrators literally here, they are just shooting into your entire deployment zone with multiple big knights.
Yeah,
that's completely mental, right? Like, so I think you're right. I think towering interacts with boards that have essentially been set up without much thought given to towering. I think really, and then finding out when knights are actually relevant, it's really, really dangerous, especially as knights have got faster and shootier and killier, which is where we're at with it.
And breach the walls as well, which some of them maybe weren't designed around.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to bin the Atropos off just because it doesn't feel like it's been thought about in relation to the rules, which is why it suddenly ended up jammed. It's a classic. People always go, "Oh, why are all these things in Legends?" I was like, "Well, because they were miserable. It was miserable when there was just some stupid Forge World unit that no one had thought about that you could just spam 3 of." And
if I don't get Tetras,
exactly,
no one gets any Forge World.
Tetras would sort them right out, to be fair.
And if it's ancient tech, why aren't they just limited to 1? That makes more sense to me. Like, why is there ever the need for 3 Lancers or 3 Atropos in a list? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, for sure. So I think hopefully they can preserve some of the other knights. Because like I said, there is interesting combinations and flavour in some of the other knights. And actually, I'm seeing lists work with all of the different ones. You don't have to have the Atropos. So I think there's plenty that can be done there. Clever Invector says, I'm an IK player and even I don't like this meta. Yeah, I know firsthand Clever Invector, but it's never fun when your army is at the top of the game because people don't like it and they let you know about it. And I think I'm here for both flavours of knights being a big part of this meta as we go into the end of the year, but I want them to be a little bit reined in, I think is the killer thing. Okay, moving it along, we have a question, a super chat from Lovely Swiftly. Yeah, guys, if you do want to super chat in, we will, of course, field questions on your topic of your choice, faction of your choice, etc.
Yes.
They ask, how are we feeling about Black Templars and Grey Knights? Now, we've discussed this a tiny bit. I think, Chris, if you were going to give a meta-analysis of where Grey Knights sit, based on your recent dabblings and thinkings, where do you anticipate Grey Knights are going to end up going forwards? Do they need help, or are they okay?
I think Grey Knights are quite often meta-dependent. I mean, you think about their rules, the fundamental fact is, right, you get to pick up 3 units and put them anywhere. Like, that's an incredibly powerful ability, and if they have enough stuff, or if they have powerful shooting, they're an incredible army. Or if the meta kind of like suits them. Grey Knights historically have struggled into vehicles. That has been their weakness. And so when it's a vehicle meta, like Knights and stuff, as we see at the moment, that is a potential concern. They do have the new Grandmaster, which has Twin Link Melter and re-rolling hits, wounds, and damage in combat with vehicles. And you're seeing 3 of those into kind of like lots of things, right? So you've got that. They've also got the fact that they can just put out a billion shots. Like Purifiers are an incredible data sheet. If you take Purifiers in Warpbane, you're re-rolling all of your hits and all of your wounds. So there's a lot of power there, as always. They are costed as such, right? They're a 2-up save with teleporting abilities, so therefore they are more expensive. 5 Marines, 5 Strike Marines, 15 attacks, strength 6, -2 damage, and some Stormbolters. Yes, 120 points. They've got Scout, they've got Sticky, but that soon adds up. So I think as if we assume knights will get hit a bit and people move towards other things and the meta adapts and becomes a bit more fair and balanced, I think you could see Grey Knights come out. I think especially in Warpbane, they've just got sheer power. As we said, like if your whole army is re-rolling all of its hits and your Purifiers are re-rolling all of their wounds and your Grandmasters are re-rolling all of their wounds, like a lot of armies just can't deal with that amount of output. Purifiers obviously put out just great damage into all targets really because of the rerolls. So yeah, I mean, I think the Terminator models are probably priced a bit too much. Like they're 3 wounds and they're like 42 points each or 45 points each or something like. It's just far too much for what they can do. So you're not going to see many of them at the moment. I mean, they would probably need a slight touchdown to be taken, but I'm cautiously optimistic that once Knights and Death Guard get smacked down, Grey Knights will be okay. I don't think they're going to rise to the top or anything, but I think they're in a good place. As I said earlier, it's just a bit of a shame because it still feels very much the same as it was before the book came out. And, when you get a new book, you want to have new ways of playing and new things to do, and it doesn't really feel like that with Grey Knights.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So, probably meta-dependent, probably going to wait and see how other things land around them, and a little bit drab if it's going to be Warpbane. That's a bit sad.
Yeah, because it doesn't have the tricks. Grey Knights are known for their tricks, but Warpbane doesn't have tricks. It just has, I'm going to reroll all of my dice and I'm going to keep on doing that until you're dead.
It is a bit of Codex Dread Knight, right? Which is just not really what you want to see. I think you're kind of incentivized for that because the melee just isn't that good. Like Nemesis Force weapons are just not very good in combat.
It's fine, aren't they?
Yeah, so they're very mid-tier kind of weapons.
If you're not re-rolling them, it's like 15 attacks with the 5-man strike unit. Like that's 10 hits, probably winning on 3s. That's 7 wounds. Like you might kill a 5-man marine unit.
Yeah, you're not killing any vehicles in combat either, so
no,
it's just a bit of a rough situation for them, really, which kind of pushes you towards the Dread Knight, which in turn is a unit which is very skewed because it's a T8 vehicle. That makes things really weird and makes a lot of matchups really strange for them. So
yeah, they have no resilience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So who knows is the long and short of it. I think they're probably not going to be a meta terror, but also not terrible.
They'll keep games close. They're always good at that.
Do you know what? They're going to sit in like a World Eater spot, I think.
Yeah.
Like that kind of same level.
Yeah.
Good or ill.
Well, that's an interesting spot to be if the other armies were talking about change.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to World Eaters.
I put them in a plus 50% win rate, personally. I'd say they'll be around more the 51, 52 than the 48.
Yeah, and that's very promising, I think, really, in the wider scheme of things. And the wider game, but not below the 3 or 4 we're talking about, has been quite diverse. So I think they'll probably slot into that okay if it's a case of just not having massive skews everywhere that cause them more of a headache. Black Templars, we've got a few people shouting out Black Templars in the chat. They're evidently very good at killing things. Yep. They kill things real hard. I know our own Connor's been on them. I know Innes has been dabbling in them, so they can't be bad. It feels like it might be a similar thing where it's just one of the old detachments that's actually getting them there, but then the units are good. Is that kind of where we're at with them?
The impression I've got from people is the detachments in the book aren't particularly exciting, but people straight away have looked at it in Gladius, even like Ironstorm-esque builds where they're just going, here's a lot of vehicles supported by some good combat, and it's the go-to, right? It's like, if you can do that rather than doing it as Ultramarines, because that's kind of not as exciting now, why not? Like, because I think a lot of Marines players will go, here's my whatever coloured Marines, and they'll dig out these tanks and just make fun with it.
It's like it's one of the two ways to be broken, right? Like you can either have great data sheets or you can have great detachment rules. I mean, some armies, not going to name any names, have both. But in
it's
this
elves.
case,
he means elves.
Is it elves?
I meant Death Guard actually.
That's fair.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, I mean, in this case, you've got fantastic data sheets. The thing is that with Space Marines, you always have the option to pivot to something like Gladius, right? Which kind of skirts around the fact that your detachments are kind of not great. Because some of those data sheets, because I'm trying to remember exactly what they are, but I think it's because you can double join characters to near Crusader squads. You can double join characters to Crusader squads. One gives you hit rerolls, one gives you crit 5s. You can have lethals. You can have, I don't know if you can get sustained, but you can have lethals. Crit 5s is such a can of worms to have available because you can do all kinds of wacky stuff. But the point is you can get the rerolls, which skirts around the fact that you don't get oaths, and you instead have another rule to replace oaths, but you still kind of have oaths because you still get rerolls to hit anyway. And you just +1 to wound against anything that's higher toughness than your strength. It's kind of oh, thank you, Big Jim. Neophytes have built-in sustained and sword bros have lethals. So yeah, you can. It kind of basically works out is that, ironically, they can kill God. They just kill anything in combat because they kind of just skip all the whole hitting and wounding thing. They just get a million dice and they all just do a bunch of damage. So it is interesting because when you get armies that do stuff like that, because they're probably made of paper as well, right? They are made of paper, right? The Filno Panes are pulled back. The Filno Panes are pulled back. There's no invols available there. So where they're going to sit in the meta, I don't know, because I don't think they're particularly fast, right? There's nothing really that increases the speed. No. So it's kind of just guys in transports, and if they connect, they will just kill whatever they touch. But it's getting them to connect alive that is the difficult part. So I don't know where they're going to sit in the meta on that front, right? Because there's a lot of armies that will just pick on slow space.
None of it is particularly hard to kill.
Yeah.
So I think it becomes a case of they're walking into a meta which is very nice for them to go and whack things. But if then the meta adjusts to be preying on them, it'll be interesting to see how they keep up and how they adjust, for sure. But it's exciting to see some Templars out. And as Swissy says, they do have advanced in charging Gladius, which is why Gladius is so popular, because they combo well with the tricks in that detachment, right?
They're still move 6, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not sort of Emperor's Children levels of projection and movement.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think probably for me, what I'm always interested in, but we'll start thinking about guys who might need a bit of love in a moment. But I'm always interested in, one of the things I think DW over this edition has tried to do is target like the next problem. Get on the next problem. I'm curious for you three what you think the next problems might be. I will talk about GSC in a moment, so leave me that one. But what else do you think might be a potential issue if left unattended in this slate outside of, I guess, our obvious candidates?
I'm going to be the voice that stands against the Eldar Union.
I knew you were going
because the Eldar Union
I don't dispute it. I think Eldar is one of the strongest armies in the game, man. So you won't hear me object. Go on.
Also, one of the strongest PR collectives that they've got going out there.
It's just a bunch of skillful, honest guys, mate. Nothing to see here.
I mean, I feel like since their codex came out, I feel like they've been kind of pushed down a lot. Firstly, by their own codex, like by Yonari being good, kind of overshadowing everything else. And then at the same time as they got nerfed, a bunch of other stuff came out that's kind of not been great for them. Like they don't really like Death Guard. There's other armies that have come out around them are like very good at pressuring them. Right? I remember when Emperor's Children came out, we were very much like that's they're good at killing Eldar and things like that. But I think if we start taking away the things that are going to prey on them, I think the time has kind of come for Eldar to come around to it. Also, can't take away from the fact that a lot of the people that would be playing Eldar have been playing at WTC and are so like you can't practice Eldar if you already have an Eldar player on your team, right? So there's going to be probably a lot. I just think there's going to be a lot of Eldar players around, and they're still incredibly annoying to play against, mainly due to the Fire Dragons are just annoying in the sense it's just I'm going to reroll everything. Swooping Hawks are incredibly fast and they can just get the lethal 5s with Lycus. It's lethal and sustained 5s in Aspect Host if you really want to.
Yeah. And they mortal wounds, just all of it.
It's fine.
And they're just, they can be wherever they want, whenever they want, right? And it's just, it just upsets me greatly to see them ever, really. But
I think this Eldar book, it was in a lull, right? It was in a lull very briefly, and I think the Eldar book has an incredible. This is one thing I felt reading the Votan one and comparing it. You can make so many different things work, and you can solve so many different problems with the Eldar book that whatever meta comes, they will dig in there and they will find something. And there aren't that many books like that. And so I think, as you say, we've just found the next crop of units, right? The 10 bricks of Sweeping Hawks, people, I think Polish lads were trying that at the first Pyro I went to when the book had just come out. And then it sort of disappeared and it never really saw light of day. And then suddenly it pops up just before WTC, right? And it's very powerful. It does like a specific meta. But there's other things in there. There's Wind Host, Seer Council. The Chinese Seer Council list at WTC was amazing. There's tons. So
Seer Council is absolutely
Seer Council is really good. It's really good, Jack. It's a great time.
Crazy.
And I think we've got a shout out for the Necron book. We actually had this conversation, Clever Invective, in our WhatsApp the other day. We were talking about what the greatest books of the edition are, and obviously, I'd definitely put Necrons and Eldar both in that. I think, what do? Do you just points tap it again? It is currently enjoying a meta where the things that were hunting it are all face planting hard into Knights and Death Guard, right? I think that helps them quite a lot.
We've already said the problem, right? It's the same problem Death Guard are probably going to have. Sisters have already had it. Eldari had it with their index. They're just, the data sheets are just made for a different game. They're not, I think they're just, like, their rules in general are just like too good across the board. So the only real way you end up balancing it is hitting it with points to the point where it becomes unusable. It's like an inevitability. It's either going to be OP or it's just going to be terrible. It feels like those are the only two ways that it goes. The Sisters are currently, like, they got hit so hard they were unplayable. They kind of been brought back up a bit now. I think Death Guard are all waiting their nerf. Necrons, remember when they came out, they were crazy good, and then they've just sat being good. Like, because Necrons haven't been made unplayable, they're just good, right?
Yeah.
You can't keep them down because their foundation is just so solid.
Yeah. I think both those books basically have data sheets which are in and of themselves really good, that then you can put the different hat on that you need for the meta that you're in, basically.
Exactly.
That's the killer thing. The detachment sort of is like, oh, what extra juice do you need to solve this particular meta? Put this hat on. Yeah, the data sheets just are good, whatever you use them in. Right.
A good example is the Fire Dragon with God, what's his face? I can't remember his name. Fragan, yeah.
Muy fuego.
Like, at what point? So that unit basically will kill any vehicle in a game, right?
Yeah.
At what point does that unit, like, what do you have to cost it at that it's not unusable? Like, you would, because there comes a point where you never take it because it's so expensive. It's like 500 points, or it's a vehicle meta, so you always take it, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah, in a vehicle meta, you run it. You just straight up run it, right?
Like, I feel like there's no midpoint for that unit. Like, I don't know what you would ever cost it at. That's like, I take it or leave it. It's an option for anti-tank. I just don't. I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, I mean, Wave Serpent plus 10 brick plus Wagon, you're at a quarter of your points at the moment, or thereabouts, not a mile off. So it is a big investment, but yeah, it is a unit that just auto wins certain games, right? So it's a phenomenally powerful thing to have.
There's a lot of room for. I think the other thing that makes it is there's a lot of room for skill expression in that book.
Yeah.
You have a lot of stuff. You have a lot of agency and a lot of options for any given situation.
Oh, so much. So much.
So yeah, there's because of that, it's always just going to be a solid contender, right? Because if you're a good player, you can get a lot out of that codex.
Absolutely.
So,
Gitley Gaming says, "Why should Eldari have an answer to the meta? Damn them!" I love it. Yeah. It'll be interesting if it's a Russia Combatia meta, whether they hang in that moment in time. But we will see. Anyone else lurking below the top, guys, that we're worried about?
Chaos.
I'll let you guys go.
Go on, Chris.
I think Chaos inherently have always been like quite strong and have good rules. You look at a lot of the CSM detachments you've seen. Chaos Cults are starting.
Chaos Cults, yeah.
pull their weight in teams, and what you would expect is those sorts of lists, as soon as they get acknowledged as doing well in teams, they get taken onto the singles circuit.
Yeah, as boring as it is, there were like 3 different versions of here are 3 bricks of a cursed, you're going to die at WTC that were completely different. Chaos Cults, there was the Shadow Legion triple curse with just all horrors behind it that Malta were running. Like a cursed spam clearly is still a very, very potent thing. Again, that is more of a teams list than a singles list, but you're looking at that thinking if people start copying those.
And in a world currently where we're trying to kill big knights, when we're not trying to kill all those cultists, so and
exactly
generally good profiles. So I think the CSM have got quite a lot of good stuff, and also we were talking pre-show about Emperor's Children as well. Obviously, their main weakness is Imperial Knight or Knights, but as soon as those start to go, it might well be. Also, we saw John Lennon do very, very well, apart from into Knights, with them at WTC, and it could well be that those sorts of things, if they get maybe a little bit of a soft touch, just to be a bit better. So I think, and as people are saying in the chat, obviously, Thousand Suns, there's an argument, didn't be many moons ago, whether they were S tier or A tier, but they're undoubtedly they're a very good faction, and take a very strong player to be able to use them well, but they're also very strong. You expect them to get nerfed a bit as well, so it'd be very interesting to see. But I predict that Chaos will come out looking pretty in some form or the other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Demons, Chaos Cults, CSM. The CSM book is still a very clunky, lopsided thing to me in lots of different ways. I think they nerfed it actually really effectively on release, much to my chagrin, to stop it just being able to do anything it wanted. Like the points on a lot of it just constrains it from having everything it wants. But I think they are in a really solid spot, and they can still plug Noise Marines in. There's loads of builds with Noise Marines that haven't really been fully realised either. I think very interesting. We've got a couple. So Thousand Suns, Peter Johnson shouted out. Thousand Suns seems to be lurking. The Thousand Suns is a really interesting place. It is so strong in some conditions, and then a bit mid in others, and it really does depend on the boards it's playing on as to how well you can apply what it does. It is very good.
It can be quite swingy as well, can't it? So.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I wouldn't be rushing to nerf Thousand Suns. No. I don't know what you think, Jack.
I think T-Suns are one of those armies where like they're really good at what they want to be. I think the best way to say is their game. They're really good at their game, right? Their army rule is incredibly powerful. Probably one of the top 3 army rules in the game. With the rituals, insanely strong, and they have a huge amount of damage output. But I don't think they're pointed in a way to be oppressive. They don't get so much on the board like Death Guard do. They're not like so much on the board that they can just tank any kind of damage that you take and then still have enough damage left over to table you. And I think they have. I don't think the things that they're good at, their strengths, their detachment rules, that they should. I don't think that gives them an out for their weakness, which is essentially just being rushed by combat armies. I think they are still vulnerable to that. They don't have a get out of jail free card for that, unfortunately for the T-Suns players. So I think there's a clear counterplay for them.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps them a little bit. They are being held down by the current meta a bit. They are going to look a lot stronger in the next Dataslate if they don't get changed.
Yeah.
So
I think it's the Zangor Enlightened, isn't it? I think they are the only unit I look at and go, you probably are too cheap.
I'd say maybe the Mulith is probably a bit too cheap as well.
If you gently tap those, that's probably enough. And that's another book that's got an issue because none of the other detachments are really happening, which is a bit rubbish.
We could probably also add 40 points to that that enhancement that gives +1 strength and damage to the flamer. Just add 40 points to that because fuck that thing.
Wang another 40 odd. Absolutely. We've had a shout out for GSC. There's been several. So GSC, if we're talking about GSC, there are several things to say about GSC. One, GSC the meta went away from GSC quite aggressively and then came back for it really beautifully. And that because GSC love knights. Knights can't screen GSC. You can drop in and shoot them. You have a great time. They can play Death Guard, and then they do bully a lot of the other armies in the game. GSC's in a spot where almost every detachment except Host has dropped off quite aggressively now. Outlander is okay. Bio is not great. Xenocreed is underexplored, but not great. Host itself is very, very strong. It is very, very powerful. It has tons of OC, really good shooting. I think in the world of singles, I think GSC is one of those armies where their win rate doesn't tell a whole story for me personally, because I've played GSC long enough to know I win 3 games every event because my opponents are too stupid to know what GSC does or how to deal with it. That's just a default start point. It just is one of those armies where there is a skill check involved with understanding how it works, that buffs it up a little bit. And Host, especially with Return to Shadows. I played 7 games at WCC. I think my opponents triggered Return to Shadows probably 3 times across the event. That's what the level you are actually playing at when people actually fully understand how to manage that detachment and what it does. And it's a very different army at that stage. But I think probably the compensatory buffs it got, which was to bikers and to pure strains, need to be paid for from something else, which in this case, I think if you're looking at Host would be, and I've talked with Dennis about this, the Primus and the Benefactus, right? Those 2 units are the juice in Host. They are what make the neophyte bricks dangerous, and they're also the thing you can hit that don't fuck over the other detachments even worse, in GSC even more. So I think points on the Primus and points on the Benefactus would cut another unit out the list, which definitely helps. And then it'll be interesting to see whether they do anything else with it. But certainly 20-man neophytes, you could hit them again if you want. Those are powerful things. Those bricks are powerful. If you can get it to a point where they're dropping 2 of the MSU units out the list again, that would hurt it. But I think, yeah. Go on, Jack.
I tell you what, man. Having run Brood Brothers Auxilia in the King of the Ping League, they're not that good without the Lethal Sustain.
They're really not. I used a Neophyte Brick when I played Chris with Final Day, and it's just not very good when it's not in Host. It really isn't. I'm a little bit worried for GSC if when Host takes the bullet, because it feels like that book's been sort of running on empty / running on Host for a while, and I don't know quite how you manage it, because compensatory buffs can obviously open new cans of worms. But I am in no doubt that Host does need some buffs, so it does need some nerfs if you're going to be nerfing everything else around it as well. But the biggest nerf for Host would be World Eaters and Emperor's Children getting to be more in the game, to be honest, because those armies run through it very happily.
Hot take, I think GSC is probably up there for one of the worst designed codexes.
I completely agree.
In like, it's up there with Custodes, I think.
Yeah, it's a shitter. I took that book out with me to WCC, and on the way there, I was reflecting on how little of what was relevant to the game was in that actual book from release. It's ridiculous. It's been stitched back together, right? So it's just a classic zombie job of a book, unfortunately.
Yeah, the one that really sets me off, and I think is like so like emblematic of the whole issue with that book, is there's a stratagem in Biosynthetic Brood Search that probably no one knows what it does unless you play GSC, because no one's ever used it. And it's so the way the stratagem works is at the start of the shooting phase, you pick the unit that either has a Patriarch or a Abominant in it, and if an enemy unit within 9 inches declares a shooting attack against that unit, they have to take a leadership test, not a battle shock test, a leadership test, and if they fail it, they take a -1 to hit. If they pass it, nothing happens. And that's a CP.
Yeah.
That could just be stealth for a CP.
Yep.
And it's the most convoluted rule for like so little effect. And it's just completely pointless. And I feel that's just kind of emblematic of the entire GSC codex. It's kind of getting carried on the moment by hosts and the crit sustain vibes. They're just moving over.
Crit 5s, that Primus Brick killing half an army when it comes in, and then an opponent deciding to shoot it and letting them do it again is carrying the win rate of this faction, right? It's like, if you have shot at a Primus Brick with any unit that wasn't a guaranteed 150% kill of that unit, you're losing the game for yourself. Stop doing it. Yeah. And that's the killer thing with Host, I think, is just that people fall down on Return to Shadows and the Neo Bricks quite hard. We got some love for Final Day from Swissy in the chat. I would love to see where Final Day sits with the new NID splits plugged in the future. That is interesting. NID's obviously an army that are also in a not very glamorous spot. But new Raveners in Final Day feels like it should be quite interesting. What do we think about World Eaters? John, you've obviously been playing some World Eaters. Is that an army where we need to be concerned if the meta shifts around it?
I think there could be some points nudges on a couple of things that people are taking a lot of. So say things like Forge Fiends. I wouldn't be surprised if they get a bit of a nudge down, so people aren't just going, right, here's 3 at the start of my list. But there's a few things that feel kind of a bit weird points-wise that make it quite hard to build lists without kind of having to reconfigure the whole thing. So I think we'll see some changes, like 8-bound aren't really getting put in lists unless it's like a couple of 3s at most. And that's a shame, because they've got a character that leads them.
Yes.
As part of the book, right? And it's just, it feels like they need to be a little bit cheaper to kind of encourage people, perhaps, but not too cheap, perhaps. Because normal 8-bound could be a problem if you had big bricks of 6 with stuff being rezzed, if they were too cheap.
Yes. It feels like a good book with very good rules.
Yeah.
I think some buffs to some of the stuff that's not currently making it in would make it very, very, very powerful. That's the slight issue. So something has to take a hit. If you're making 8-bound cheaper, maybe Berserkers have to go up a little bit. I don't know if this 80 Berserkers thing is a singles list or not. I've no idea. It was obviously very good at WTC.
Playing it on boards that aren't WTC, that 20 brick and then the rest of your army, where the heck do you hide it, realistically? And if there's still knights on the table, they're just getting shot off the table, because they are just still 3-up saved Space Marines. So it's like, I think people will struggle with that. So I think we'll see, especially if the maps for UKTC don't change too drastically, you'll see people doing it in Rhinos rather than 20, because it is still a big, especially if it's got a Juggernaut Lord leading it, that's a huge footprint that you can't really just go, right, I'll just put that somewhere staging. You've got to get it into the big staging area, and everything else is then just kind of go, where do we go? Which is just not helpful.
When I've played Nash using it, he's just run at me with it, and I've died anyway.
That's all you can do.
But it's an interesting one. Yeah, I think potentially it is very board dependent. Obviously, some of these WTC boards where you can sort of get the army to the mid board first and then be playing the game, it's a very different prospect on there.
It's a lot safer.
It's a very specific stat check, right?
Yeah, for sure. There's certainly a bit more versatile world it is, but again, it's another one that it seems like of the armies we're talking about, there's a few that can shift between detachments pretty effortlessly, and then a lot of the armies we're talking about are on pretty much one detachment, which is an interesting state of affairs, I think, in terms of haves and have-nots going into Balanced State. So I don't know whether we've seen buffs to particular detachments before. I don't know whether there's more interesting stuff to be done there, and whether that's the way into it.
They seem to avoid changing too much in detachments in a positive way. They seem to just go, right, we'll make a new detachment instead. So maybe we'll see that as an option instead. Because they seem to do that with like Dark Angels. They didn't fix any of their detachments. They just went, here's a new one. Which was welcome, but I don't know if we're going to get that for other people.
On that note, sorry if this is a bit of a sidetrack. Continue, we can talk about this later. What do we think is going to be the 3 new detachments in this next?
Oh shit! Yeah, they could be bringing new detachments. So
they said they would, because we're gonna get a bad one, we're gonna get a broken one, and we're gonna get a sorry we ruined your codex one. So who's getting that?
I mean, you should be giving them all to the armies we've talked about who only have one current viable competitive one, right? That's who should be getting it. What's
There's
John
going to be a new
saying?
demon one. We're going to get one where you get to bring, one big guy of each god. It'll be something stupid like that. They'll go, here's a theme. And it'll just be like, here's 4 random greater demons. That'll be the one that's not very good, but they'll just do it. Something like that, like a theme. They'll go, this is fine.
When you're near 3 other demons of different marks, you get real.
You high-five each other.
Yeah. Lovely.
It's just like, I don't want to see it.
I'd be interested to see what they do.
I'd like an AdMech.
Yeah, an AdMech.
An AdMech. That's an army that exists,
I don't
right?
care for AdMech. I think maybe Eldar should get one. It'd be nice.
They can have the shit one.
A Harlequin detachment. There we go. A shit Harlequin detachment. There we go.
Yeah, another one.
Boom.
I mean, Ranger detachments.
That will. Yeah, I'm trying to think who you'd even go for with that. I really don't know.
What if they're going to be really boring and it'll be Imperial Fists, Iron Hands, and maybe the Salamanders one?
Maybe it will. Yeah,
just that.
I wouldn't
hate
that.
Coming, right?
I wouldn't hate that. Chainsaw Bias says I'd like Drakari to get one since they last week. Yeah, let's just have the book though. Come on, it's time. Just give us the book. Show us what's going on.
It's a Tartworks Codex.
I have become impatient now. It's time.
So they've only given them out to armies that have codexes.
Yes.
So I think we should assume that that's going to remain the same case.
I think for these, yeah.
Well, Drakari got one beforehand.
They did, but that wasn't in like the splash releases of several at once. Though this is
We've had Tau, Orks, Custodes. Trying to remember. Chaos Space Marines.
Dark
Angels, and
Grey Knights.
Grey Knight. Was it
Grey
Knights?
Didn't have a codex at the time. Didn't they get one? Oh no, it was just Christmas one.
Thousand Suns and Nids also both got one.
No, it was Nids. Nids were the one that got it. Thousand Suns didn't. Thousand Suns didn't get one.
They got one. I made a 9-inch aura of -1 to hit, and I battered Davey with it. It definitely exists.
That's the Christmas one, isn't it?
That was a Grotmus one. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking about the Grotmus one. They have the Dataslate ones. The ones that, because we've had 2 sets of Dataslate.
Oh shit! Yeah, that was even further back than that. Good times.
Yeah,
I missed that.
So we've still got to come. Sisters, Admech, Imperial Guard, regular Space Marines, Chaos Demons.
So Guard getting one, you could see for sure.
Death Guard, Emperor's Children, Thousand Suns, World Eaters,
Emperor's Children getting one, you could see.
Yeah.
GSC.
I could legitimately see GSC getting one because they haven't really been served with one.
Votan, of course, Necrons, and that's all of the ones. So I could see Necrons, Guard, and then Eldari maybe, or GSC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very curious what you could go for with GSC because it feels like they've covered all their major themes.
You've forgotten one book.
What?
Imperial Agents.
True.
Oh yes, it's time. Time to take Imperial Agents to the moon. Sabalena says Guard are going to get one that makes commissars great. Copium, yeah, why not?
I was hoping for one that made abhumans good. Like
that would be quite fun.
Rattling
spam. Very specific, very, very specific, but I don't know. But they are kind of are. Do you know what I was thinking actually for GSC? There is one cult they don't have represented, and that's the Rusted Claw, I think it is. The one that's like
the Admech one.
Heart Cyborg.
Yeah. That's a good shout. So
that's
you
not
could
represented anywhere in the detachments.
But that's another one that's like, Tom, go and spend 150 quid on a different army that you don't play, and I'll be like,
yes, Tom, do it.
I've literally just packaged and sent off the Nids that I bought for like the second go. I've literally just like, I bought the Nids to do Final Day to do Nids again, and I've sold it now, and it's just time to let it go. So
the Salamander's army then.
That's not going to happen either. That's purely a painting project now at this stage, I fear. I think detachments for the special Marine chapters, Crimson Fists or Flesh Tearers. I'd love either of those to turn up. That'd be sick.
What's up? Yeah.
Blood Ravens.
Yeah.
With the new
aligned with the Dawn of War 4 trailer.
Yeah, exactly.
It all lines up. It's all coming together.
Absolutely.
It's not happening then. That sounds way too.
We are firmly at the point now where I've got no idea what those detachments would be, though. To be honest, it's quite interesting. I really don't know.
Yeah.
In terms of armies that might need bringing up from the doldrums, do we think they'll do anything on that front?
I hope so.
I was looking at it, and Custodes have been pretty dross for quite a long time.
Someone asked me about Tau.
Jack, what do you think about what do you think about Tau, Jack?
I'm glad you asked.
Shall I go put the kettle on, guys?
No, you're right. He's going to be succinct.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna keep it short on this one. Because playing other stuff and like putting Tau over there in the corner and not looking at them at the moment and looking at God and GSC instead, has like given me like I feel like a new level of clarity on Tau. They're just bad data sheets with pretty good to okay detachment rules.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And they're just worse Eldar. It's essentially at this point it's essentially the same army identity as Eldar, but they do it worse. And until that changes, that's I don't really think you can realistically make Tau any cheaper. They released a new detachment for them. They clearly don't understand what it is that Tau needs to make them good. Because the prototype cadre is, I think, the worst detachment win rate in the game. And yeah, it's like they need data sheet changes, and I don't think they're going to get them. So I think they just sit at 40, 45-ish likes, above a below a couple percent for the rest of the edition, and then maybe they have another go next time. I think that's. I've completely given up hope for any changes for Tau. I just think their data sheets don't work. They just need to really have a big think about a proper redesign for what they want that book to do and be good at. Because I'm not going to do it, but I could sit here for about half an hour and tell you all the things that are thematically and mechanically wrong about that book. But yeah, we're not going to do that because I think everyone's had enough of my
We'll do that another day. And also, yeah, you've achieved a kind of zen peace with it that I'm loath to break. But I agree. I think Tau will need another run out in the future. I think Orks seem to be absolutely down and out at the minute. And I can't work out how much of that is the meta and how much of that is people just have had enough of Orks now.
Just one thing I will say. I posted a picture in our WhatsApp group. Chat the other day of a Riptide ion cannon and the oppressor cannon from a Rogaldorn, which is this big, and this is higher strength and damage than a Riptide ion cannon, and it upsets me greatly because it's the size of, I don't know, like I was gonna make a dick joke.
Your penis.
Yeah.
Hey. Yeah, it is ridiculous.
It just, yeah.
John, tell me what Orks need, mate.
So the problem I have at the moment with Orks is you look at any other melee pressure army, they can advance and charge as a detachment quite often, or have it on tap. Orks have to do it as a single turn. They get given things like a Blood Angel style extra attack and strength and stuff in that war turn. But outside of that, they can't shoot. If they do shoot, they're always overcooked. Like they can't get that right. And then a lot of the data sheets are quite plain, realistically, when you look at them. And then things like all those lovely buggies, pretty unplayable, really. Like we saw at WTC, they go onto the board, they take up a lot of space, but they still just die.
I love that list.
Yeah, but it's just sad, right? When you just put it on the table and go, let's see how quick they can die. And in singles, that will be heartbreaking. You go, I've painted all these lovely models, I've spent all this time, I've converted them, but no, get in the bin. And it's just, there is other armies that seem to do what Orks want to do much better and can shoot. So, as an Orc player, I can't remember the last time I thought about building an Orc list, and that's really sad the more I look at it. But
they have been one of the best armies in the game for like most of the edition, right? But it's like,
but in a really less fun way, like winning by being on the board or shooting people with a rule that shouldn't ever have been written doesn't feel fun.
No, for sure.
I don't know.
I think some aspects of that book don't work, and that it feels a bit lopsided as a result, right? I think with the buff to speed, while they did, you could clearly see them going, "Oh, let's try and get it in the fun copters and bikes and stuff." But it's like the reality is that stuff was so undercooked in the book that compared to the rest of it,
I've got it all. I could play it right now, but I don't want to. I'd rather just take Space Marines, and that's really sad as well when you think about it. Like, I'm going to be a Space Marine instead.
I'm not sure what they'll get. I don't think Nids will get anything either, which is a bit sad because Nids players feel a little bit down on them, but it might be that
greens will go up a bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, points rise next screens. You could potentially make the new Raveners a tiny bit cheaper. See if that spices things up.
I think
just in time for them to be released separately.
Yeah.
I think both Tyranids and Orks are kind of victims of the fact that Games Workshop wanted to reduce lethality of the game specifically for melee at the start of the edition, and they've kind of got over that now and are adding it back in for later codexes, but they've kind of just left these other factions behind.
Yeah.
Because Orc combat just doesn't hit as hard. Like, I mean, it hits okay in the war, it's fine in the war, but outside of the war, it just doesn't hit very hard. Same for Tyranids, like, even with the bus to the Synapse stuff, like, it's just fine. It's not world ending. But I think for me, what I would really love to see for Tyranids is improvements to the little stuff. Hormogaunts, Raveners, Warriors, those smaller Tyranid units, because I feel like a big issue that they're having at the moment is a lot of their good stuff is big stuff, and it's just getting the real estate, like the physical act of getting the real estate on the board, getting stuff to where it needs to be, and applying your damage to parts of the board where you need it to is very difficult for Tyranids. So I would say, Warriors, Gene Stealers, Hormogaunts, that sort of stuff is where I want to see like improvements for Tyranids.
Yeah, I'd agree. Completely.
Yeah.
I think they threw out a few buffs to help them last time with the Psychophage to get the melee, getting the extra AP. The new detachment's a classic example of awesome rules do not always translate into awesome power levels, right? Like it actually has, to some extent, the GSC problem of if the opponent gives you nowhere to land, you're not actually that great. But actually, unlike GSC, it doesn't have like god-killing amounts of range damage to get its way out of that block in the first place. So it struggles a bit to play out in time to win games.
It's a fantastic attachment.
It's really good.
Are just really bad still. Like, I mean, they're not that. They're just not good, right? It's a Tau problem again. Like your detachment is solid. It's good. There's no data sheet to back it up. Like you can get your units to where they need to be a lot better in that detachment with the 6-inch coming in from a tunnel, and but what happens when you get there? Like nothing, you know.
Oh look, I'm next to you.
Well,
but now I'm dead.
what happens is you trade a 250 point Ravener brick for my mandrakes, and then I kill you. Is what happens in
exactly.
quite a significant amount of the time. So we had another question from a Halo Bangout. Lovely to have you here. Who asked, "What have you guys said about Space Marines?" And I think there's an interesting conversation about Space Marines. I actually think Space Marines are in a really good spot overall. I think there's a whole bunch of ways to play. What I would say is that melee Space Marines are in a good spot.
Yes.
All the melee flavors have something going on at the moment, and they also have been given some good shooting, and that's kind of where it's landed, right? It's like Space Wolves, you can shoot a bit, you can fight a bit. Black Templars, you can shoot a bit, you can fight a bit. Blood Angels, you can take 2 Ballistas, or you can take 2 Vindicators. You can go back and forth on that subject if you can't quite decide, Sam. And you have loads of stuff, so that's good as well. And Dark Angels, actually, I think Dark Angels have not had the glamour of it, but they do have a very good set of units that perform very well at what they do. And the Lion is a lot of fun as well. The shooty variants of Marines seem to have died a sudden death, though. Like the Ultramarine stuff has vanished off the face of the earth. I've not seen that out and about of late very much. And I don't know whether that's just the meta we're in, where they're getting bodied by knights or what. I don't know.
Is that a bad thing?
No, not at all. I'm entirely fine with that, right? But I think that's where it currently is. Maybe the more bog standard types of Marines will be brought back by these new characters coming through, and anything they put out with those, I don't know. But that's certainly where it is for Marines. There's loads going on. I think Space Wars looks like a lot of fun.
It's a great book, but
so much stuff as well.
I don't think people have explored the detachments enough yet. Still, because people keep going, well, it's good in Gladius. I'm like, well, have you actually tried the other detachments? People are just being almost lazy because
they do categorically have that problem of just Gladius is just really, really, really good, and you always feel like you have to jump through hoops to justify moving away from it. Beast Slayer did all right at WTC. There were some people trying Beast Slayer for Space Wars. I quite like that. That one's a lot of fun. That one is a lot of fun to play against.
It's very cool.
Danny Porter was testing that a lot internally for us and doing well with it. And I think there's some really interesting stuff in that and in Space Wolves more broadly. And I think a lot of the teams highlighted that you can actually do an awful lot with Space Wolves. It wasn't like a darling of WTC, but it certainly could go and hang with a bunch of different stuff, and that's a good position.
A lot of teams took Wolves, didn't they? But do you think that was just because of the Iron Priest?
I think it was partly the Iron Priest. I think it was partly that they could go and fight knights. I think it was partly that the book was new, and new things are less practiced against by others, in theory, right? So it's always good to have those things. Particularly the 1-2 of the turn 1 deep striking Terminators was really powerful, I think, into people that weren't ready for it. I think Wolves only did fine, though, overall. I don't think they were completely world-ending, but they were certainly very good.
I think if you kind of just reduce the power of Gladius a little bit, I think Marines are basically fine.
Yeah.
Because I think the only issue they have design-wise is the fact that Gladius overshadows everything.
Yeah, and there's someone in the chat has also shouted out Stormlance, which I think is very relevant, because it's like you either you're so good at everything or you're so good at being fast that it overshadows the rest, right, Jack?
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily a bad thing that the Shooting Marines have gone away, because Shooting Marines have had their time in this edition, and I think that's kind of the main benefit of playing Marines, is that you can do everything.
100%.
Like you can just... I mean, I know if you're a Marine player, the idea of having to buy essentially a whole new army, not necessarily the best thing ever. But it is
3 years.
It's kind of...
I just buy the start of one every 3 years.
It's kind of... the tactical flexibility of a Marine army is kind of the fantasy of the way it goes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's nice to be able to do it.
the way you can rotate around everything is kind of is super interesting. So
yeah, Halo Bang It had some comments on the split off of compliant and divergent books. I mean, I think we've talked about this on the show a fair bit. I said at the start, people have clamored for this, and then some people will not like it, and you'll just go around in a circle, right? I think it's always going to come down to how well served you are by the books. I'd say people like yourself, John, have actually really enjoyed having a bit more freedom, right?
I think why I've liked it this time around is actually historically when Dark Angels had their own book, they were updated later and in isolation, so it was very much a haves and have-nots. I do think it's a bit of a loss that you get the situation where everyone's using the vanilla detachments.
Yeah,
I'd prefer that we were all kind of encouraged to, but I don't want it to be forced. I think that's the balance, right? You want to give people choice, or at least the illusion of choice.
Yeah, for sure.
We shouldn't all just be playing an Ultramarine detachment.
No, for sure.
It's just boring.
The comment that compliant Space Marines looks to be in a tough spot according to Win rates. Yeah, again, it's the consequence of the new order for Space Marines is that compliant Marines don't exist because Marines players are not compliant. They are doing whatever they want, exactly like the special chapter.
Whatever colour Space Marines they bring in today.
So it just doesn't exist. There are no dyed-in-the-wool White Scars players running around anymore. I remember when those existed, and they just don't now.
They were painted red back then, Tom, as well.
Although they've got a genuine guy on a bike coming out, haven't they, eventually?
It's going to be painted black.
So it's one of those. I think potentially there needs to be a bit more of a barrier between some of the different forms of Marines, maybe to introduce a bit more interesting diversity, but I don't know where it's landed. Yeah.
It's important to remember, I know we bang about this every time we talk about Marines, but it is important to remember that the stats don't tell the full story with Marines.
Never. No.
They kind of have the reverse situation that I think GSC have.
Yeah.
Where GSC have a very low player base, and of that player base, I think the ones that are like diehard GSC players tend to be very good at the game.
I actually forgot to give that reason earlier on when I was talking about GSC, but also, yes, we are amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's great.
I mean,
not you, Tom.
Innis is incredible, right? You know, like
Innis,
everything you know.
Innis and the people copying him are all right. Yeah, absolutely.
Even the people that Innis copies.
Yeah.
Sorry, he said that before, so I'm allowed
No,
to say.
exactly. No,
So it kind of is the reverse issue with Space Marines, where you have a very large player base of Space Marines, and because it tends to be the army that people either start the hobby with or return to the hobby after several years out, come back and play with whatever they had that was good several editions ago. It kind of tends to negatively hit their win rate quite a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, it's again, it's one of the factions where when you have an enormous roster of units you can take, there's a lot of bad units to take. There's a lot of traps that you can take in there that I think people fall into quite a lot. So I think there's a lot more opportunity to go wrong with Space Marines than there are with other armies, and I think that kind of negatively affects their win rate. Because I don't think any of us would say, like, if we got paired into Space Marines at a tournament, we're like, fucking easy win, they're a shit army. Like, no one's thinking that, right? No one thinks Marines are a shit army.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. All right. Okay, I suggest we rattle to a few podcast questions, and then we will call it a night. So what have we got? Has anyone asked any questions? Maybe. Phil W.
Put questions in the chat. I might answer those.
You're more than welcome to shout out questions in the chat if you want to super chat as well. We'd love that. Phil W in Discord asks, if the big bads get fixed, Knights and Death Guard, what do the team expect to be the next menace?
Sisters.
Why not? We didn't even talk about Sisters, but they are doing fine right now.
They are up there, and them and BA are posting good numbers at the moment, right?
Yeah.
They've got. I mean, yeah, they're the number 2 and number 5 for stats in the game.
If you ignore the 2 Knights and Death Guard, they're in the top 5, right?
They're in the top 5 anyway. Yeah. They're 5th at the moment, but they've got a really solid army build with Hallowed Martyrs, with all of the Celestians. So that's a really solid army build. I mean, yeah, as we said before, I don't think they're hideously overcosted anymore. I think that book is just a little bit underexplored right now. I think if we get a lot more people playing it, I think that that would definitely show that army has got a lot more legs than it did prior to its more recent buffs. Just needs some exploring, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think it'll be a whole bunch of horrors.
will pop out. It'll be interesting to see. Phil also asked, should Overwatch be limited to the charge phase only? No. Feels like a big take back now to change that.
What was Overwatch in the... I've forgotten what Overwatch used to be in 9th edition.
It was the charge phase only. It was when you tried to charge something.
When you tried to charge someone, you just got to shoot them, right?
You could Overwatch it with the thing that was being charged, I think. I don't even know. Now, it wasn't something else. It was...
Yeah.
So that's how you get around it. You charge something next to the thing you actually wanted to charge.
Yeah.
And then freely pile into it because there wasn't restrictions.
I think Overwatch, for me, has actually arrived at quite a sensible place now that they've adjusted most. I think it has given a very important in to more elite, low activation armies against more go wide MSU ones in particular, where they always used to get activation locked and diddled by those kinds of armies. So I don't hate it. And I think because of the nice combos with sustained and lethal, it encourages sort of some build arounds with that as well.
I'm not a fan of it in the sense of it causes too many like gotcha moments in its current design. Way too many feels bads. I've come to the point now where if someone moves in front of me, I'm just said, I have a good Overwatch here. Do you want to move there? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Which is not how the stratagem is. The stratagem doesn't really work properly as intended unless you're going to use it as a gotcha, which is just a really crappy design in my opinion. And I don't think, because it has to be limited in a lot of ways to stop certain armies from like just breaking the game with it. Not certain armies, certain units from breaking the game with it. I think it doesn't really function as its intended design, which I think is meant to be a close combat deterrent, which I don't even think we need right now in the game with the way close combat works. But I think it's intended to be a close combat deterrent as it was in 9th, but just a bit more flexible. And I don't really think it's achieving its current like goal, basically.
That's fair. Eldar can turn it off, so you know.
Exactly. So anything you want to Overwatch, you can't.
Oh dear. Hannibal asks, how do we balance France for WTC 2026? No, France have just set the standard, man.
Get rid of the chefs.
Food poisoning.
They are. We at 6 should endorse France because they are a triumph of process, aren't they?
They certainly are.
They are the process team. They have done a thing. They had a year where it didn't work great, and then they have smashed everybody ever since by sticking at it. So well on them. It's on other teams to come up with the same level of thought and design and work. I think it's not easy. Cool. Anything else? John Black asks, what's each of your best/worst mechanics of the current game? I think people should just charge the thing that they're charging, and all of this fucking nonsense should end with all of this.
Oh god, yeah, the charge phase.
I'm just so done with it. It's a fucking. I'm done with it. A, because it exists. I'm done with it. B, because half the combat players I play against try and do it when they can't. It's just a complete waste of time. And I think the intent was obviously to just make people charge into the thing they were rolling the charge on. So either finish the job and do that, or change it more back towards 9th combat. I don't like this limbo that it lives in. That would be my main gripe. How about you guys?
I mean, in terms of like army rules, I think Cult Ambush is terrible. I think what's it called? Nope, totally lost it. Miracle Dice. Miracle Dice thing is a terrible mechanic. I think substituting dice is a really bad idea in general. Things I do like, I really like the Votan's yield point mechanic. I think that's super fun. I think that's kind of well thought out. Whether the numbers are correct on that's one of those ones where they've given themselves an extra balance lever as well, which is really cool. If you just change the requirements for yield points for different things. So I'm a big fan of that one. I don't know, off the top of my head, that's
I've enjoyed the introduction of rapid ingress. I think that's made the game.
That's the best thing.
You know what I would love? I think the one thing I would love to change on rapid ingress is you declare at the start of the opponent's movement phase.
Oh, so they know you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Do you place at the start or place at the end?
No, you still place it at the end, but you declare you're going to use it.
But any player worth their salt is aware that
Yeah, what I don't like about that is it's going to let all the lemons out, because I love playing against someone who doesn't account for my rapid ingress.
You've rapid ingress as that objective.
They'll remember to account for it if I declare it at the start, which is a shame.
Yeah, which is kind of the...
that is a very gentlemanly way of adjusting
I'm just trying to avoid the, like, I've lost the game because I forgot rapid ingress is a thing.
Yeah. Like, no, it's fair.
Like, obviously, we'll plan around it. It's for the people that just don't know it's there, or your opponent's like keeps their reserves in a box that's under the table, and like you can't see them, and like just I'm just trying to get rid of the small number of feels bads you get from rapid ingress. Otherwise, I do think it's okay, actually.
On the subject of things I really like the revised and adjusted heroic intervention. I think that's finally arrived at a place where it actually plays a really good role in the game.
I like that one too.
Yeah, I think that's a very reasonable one now. Cool. John, did you have yours? Also, go on, Jack.
One more is I actually much prefer the way Fights First works in this edition compared to last.
Fights Last, baby. I was fine the Drakari, but we'll bring back Fights Last, and all will be forgiven. And it'll be fun. Nighthaunt can have it. Why can't I? John, riddle me that.
So, the one thing I really don't like is full rerolls to hit or to wound on a data sheet, because it's not been consistently applied to data sheets. So there's some armies that just seem to get it on tap, and it's meant to be an addition with less rerolls, and I don't like that. It should be about dice.
My life for standardization of army rules. Why have we got full rerolls if you're on objective or nothing? Full rerolls if you're on an objective, or reroll ones. For reroll ones to hit if you're always, or reroll ones to hit and wound if you're on an objective. Like just standardize it.
Or below starting strength. It's all this stuff that you have to keep an eye on. It's just no thank you.
Like there's so many things like that in the game that could just be standardized. Like you've kind of half brought back universal special rules. I feel like we could just go the whole way and just do it.
Yeah, for sure. There we are.
Yeah.
I want to end on Sabalina's wonderful comment, which is this is why you print a Roboldorm purely out of resin, so you can throw it at them when they do that. Why not? Yeah, just chuck a resin tank at someone if in doubt.
Yeah, that seems like something you should do, especially at an international tournament.
100%, yeah.
You have 2 more questions in the chat. I don't think they're quite quick.
Have I missed a couple? Where are they?
Joshi S1 and Vex YYC asked one.
Thoughts on turning bracketing back to BS weapon skill instead of -1 to hit? I've not personally felt like it matters that much, to be honest. But it might be the armies I play. Go on, Jet.
Sometimes you just ignore -1s and +1s to hit, or it doesn't like if you were to tag something in combat and they're bracketed, that doesn't actually the big guns never tire. It doesn't do anything.
It makes vehicles a lot better, doesn't it?
It makes them a lot worse, right? Because if you bracket something and tag them, then they're hitting.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So the current state of affairs makes them better. This would make them worse.
Right, yeah. So I think it's a bit of a no-brainer, because same with indirect, right? Being a -1 hit rather than -ballistic skill. We solved this problem in 9th, and they just went and repeated the same problem. So to me, it seems like a bit of a no-brainer.
I saw that Tiao Master also said Shadow in the Warp sucks. I think Shadow in the Warp was great. I love it's so thematic, and sometimes it doesn't work because your opponent's too brave. And as a Night Lord's main, I can get behind that.
I kind of agree. I would rather they double down and do more with Synapse instead of having Shadow in the Warp. Personally, that's
fair. You should do mortal wounds if you fail, because you're getting your brain.
Vex asked, "What if detachments had a point cost? In detachment X, you got 20 fewer points. In detachment Y, you can bring 25 extra points."
Maybe having points cost.
Is that a Sigmar thing?
But it used to be.
Maybe. Yes, it did used to be a thing.
Yeah. And I don't think it really worked, because people just went, what's the cheapest and efficient one that's got the most exciting rule? So it just encouraged people even more.
I think that's one... It opens up another... it does open up another balance lever, but you may also just pull the wrong... You may pull it the wrong way.
It feels hard to balance well.
And I think it kind of also relies on the idea that all armies have... like we were talking about earlier, right? Some armies have strong data sheets, some armies have strong detachment rules, some armies have both good, some have both bad. So unless you'd have to have every army essentially having good data sheets, or bad data sheets and completely relying on detachment rules in order to make that work. Because it's so inconsistent right now, which is the thing that we often talk about like the A team and the B team codex writers, which is a myth. But you know,
the formation-y stuff in 9th, right, where you had to take them to even be vaguely competitive with your army, and
you just paid CP, you paid a different resource.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not all detachments are equal, but I think we just need to make more concerted drive towards having more detachments that are on a par, if you can. It's hard to do it. Let's talk about leaks. We're not looking at leaks today as such. I think they're rubbish. Wouldn't believe everything you see on the internet, especially when it's clearly like phone notes being shared around. I think that's a bold play. And then, I think that's more or less where we're at. Yeah, so great. We will probably call it there. Theo in our Discord says moth, so I'm glad. Theo went from cussing on the moth chat and saying it was stupid to being a devotee in about a week. So well done, Theo, on your spiritual journey. Yeah, he loves moth chat now. Yeah. We've got some love as well for Jack's knowledgeableness. Yeah, Jack's got the brain, man. This is why you get him on for. I was like, for a show like this, he's your guy. Never lets us down. Thanks so much for tuning in. There's loads of you here. It's been amazing. We've had a great time. We will be back again next week. And please hit the old like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you're interested. And we'll be here again 8:30 UK time next week to talk about something else, I suppose. So we'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.